My name is Marcus Webb, and I've been volunteering at Pinewood Glen's Emergency Dispatch Center for 3 years now. It's the kind of small Ohio town where everyone knows your business before you do. Population 3,200, one main street, and a volunteer fire department that doubles as our social club. I started dispatching after my divorce, needing something to fill the quiet hours. Night shifts suited me. Fewer calls, more coffee, and the pleasant hum of police scanners keeping me company. The first time I heard it, I thought I'd misheard. It was a Tuesday in late October, just past 2 a.m. The dispatch center sat above the town library, a cramped room with outdated equipment and a space heater that rattled. I was alone, halfway through a crossword, when the call came through. 911, what's your emergency? Static. Then, breathing. Wet. Labored. Hello? Can you hear me? He's in the walls. A woman's voice, barely a whisper. He's been in the walls since... The line went dead. I tried calling back. Nothing. The number showed as unknown. I logged it as a dropped call and tried to shake the unease crawling up my spine. Prank calls weren't common in Pinewood Glen, but they happened. Kids with too much time and not enough sense. But her voice... Jesus. Her voice sounded terrified. 3 nights later, another call. Same time, 2:13 a.m. 911, what's your emergency? That breathing again, closer this time, like lips pressed against the receiver. Please, the woman whispered. He won't stop digging. I can hear him behind the drywall. He's looking for... Dead air. I sat there, heart hammering, staring at the console, unknown again. I filed another report, but this time I mentioned it to Sheriff Holbrook when he came by for coffee at dawn. Marcus, you're working too many night shifts, he said, laughing it off. Your brain's playing tricks. Happens to everyone. Mike, I'm telling you, this woman sounded genuinely scared. Then why doesn't she stay on the line? Why no caller ID? He shrugged. Probably some kid with a burner phone messing with you. I'll keep an ear out, but unless we get more to go on. He left, and I tried to believe him. The calls continued, every 3 nights, like clockwork. Always between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. Always the same woman, always terrified, always cut off mid-sentence. She mentioned scratching sounds, someone named David, a basement she couldn't escape. Each call lasted maybe 20 seconds before disconnecting. I became obsessed. I started arriving early for my shifts, reviewing old call logs, searching for patterns. Nothing. No missing persons reports, no disturbances matching her descriptions. The town remained peaceful, oblivious. On the 8th call, I tried something different. Listen to me carefully, I said the moment I heard her breathing. Don't hang up. Tell me where you are. Give me an address, a landmark, anything. Silence. Then, I don't remember. It's been so long. Is it still 1994? My blood went cold. Ma'am, it's 2024. October 2024. No, she sobbed. No. He said it had only been a few days. He promised he'd let me go if I just... The line died. I sat there shaking. 1994, 30 years ago. The next morning I went to the library downstairs and dug through the archives. I searched every newspaper from 1994, looking for missing women, unsolved cases, anything. It took hours, but I found it. Claire Dennison, age 29. Disappeared November 3rd, 1994. Last seen leaving her waitressing shift at the Pinewood Diner. Her car was found abandoned near the old Bellinger farm, doors open, keys in the ignition. The case went cold. No body, no suspects, no answers. The article included a photo, a woman with kind eyes and dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, smiling at the camera. I printed everything I could find and brought it to Holbrook. Marcus, come on, he said, barely glancing at the papers. You're telling me you're getting calls from a dead woman? Missing woman. And I don't know what I'm telling you, Mike, but something is seriously wrong. Listen to the recordings. What recordings? You said the calls don't save properly. Some glitch with the old system, right? He was right. Every call logged normally, but the audio files were corrupted, just static when I tried to play them back. Every single one. I know what I heard. Maybe you need a break. Take a week off. Get some sleep. But I couldn't stop. The calls were the only proof she existed, and they were slipping through my fingers like smoke. The night everything changed, I came prepared. I set up my personal phone to record the dispatch console. If she called, I'd have evidence. 2:13 a.m. The phone rang. 911. What's your emergency? Marcus. She said my name. He knows you're listening. He's so angry. Who? Who is he? David. David Bellinger. He says you shouldn't have gone looking. He says... Her voice dropped to a whisper. He says you live at 447 Oakmont Street. He says you sleep with your window open. I felt the room tilt. 447 Oakmont, my address. Marcus, he's not in the walls anymore. She was crying now. He's been gone for 3 days. He's coming for you. He's going to... The lights in the dispatch center went out. Complete darkness. Even the equipment died. No hum, no glow from the monitors. Nothing. My phone's recording light was the only illumination. I heard footsteps in the stairwell, slow, deliberate. Hello? My voice cracked. Mike, that you? The footsteps stopped just outside the door. I fumbled for my cell phone's flashlight, hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. The beam cut through the darkness, landing on the door. It was opening. A man stood in the doorway, tall, gaunt, wearing clothes decades out of style, a flannel shirt and jeans caked with something dark. His face was wrong, sunken, gray. His eyes reflected my flashlight like an animal's. You shouldn't have answered her calls, he said. His voice sounded like grinding gravel. She was mine, my secret. 30 years, and she was still mine. I backed against the wall. The police know. I told them everything. He smiled, revealing teeth that were too long. The police don't listen. Nobody ever listens. That's how I kept her so long. That's how I'll keep you. He moved forward impossibly fast. I swung the flashlight like a weapon. It connected with his temple and he staggered. I bolted past him, hitting the stairs at a full sprint, taking them 3 at a time. Behind me, I heard him coming. Those footsteps, faster now, accompanied by something else. A clicking sound, nails on linoleum. I burst through the library's back door into the parking lot, gasping, and ran for my car. My hands shook so badly I couldn't get the key in the door. Behind me, the library door crashed open. I finally got inside, started the engine, and floored it. In the rearview mirror, I saw him standing under the streetlight, watching, not chasing, just watching. I drove straight to the sheriff's station, babbling, showing him my phone recording. But when we played it back, there was nothing. Just static. And when we went back to the library, the lights were on, everything running normally. No sign of anyone. Marcus, you're exhausted, Holbrook said. You're seeing things. Go home. Get some rest. But I saw how he looked at me, like I was crazy. I didn't go home. I stayed in a motel 2 towns over, lights on, door barricaded. I waited for dawn before I dared return to my house to grab clothes. That's when I found it. My bedroom window, the one I always left cracked for fresh air, was wide open. The screen had been carefully removed and placed on the ground outside. In the center of my bed was a single Polaroid photograph. It showed a woman in a basement, chained to a pipe, looking directly at the camera with hollow, desperate eyes. On the back, written in shaky handwriting, "He's in your walls now." I moved out the next day, put the house up for sale, and left Pinewood Glen entirely. I don't do dispatch work anymore. I don't answer phones if I don't recognize the number. But sometimes, late at night, my cell phone rings. Unknown. I never answer, but I can hear it through the voicemail, that wet, labored breathing, and underneath it, scratching sounds, digging. And sometimes when it's very quiet, I hear it in my apartment walls too. The scratching. My name is Jessica Ortiz, and I was 16 when they brought back the swim test in Coldwell, Montana. It's a mountain town of about 4,000, stuck in a valley between pine-covered peaks, built around Lake Mercy, a massive, freezing body of water fed by glacial runoff. The lake is the town's identity. Summer tourists, fishing, the annual regatta. Everyone in Coldwell learns to swim before they learn to drive. Or at least they used to. The swim test was a tradition that ended in 1983, the year before I was born. Every senior at Coldwell High had to pass it to graduate, swim from the town dock to Mercy Point, about half a mile across the deepest part of the lake. The school stopped requiring it after a girl named Sarah Volk disappeared during her test. They never found her body. Her parents sued, the tradition died, and everyone sort of forgot about it. Until Principal Gaines announced its return at the September assembly. Coldwell is built on tradition, he said from the auditorium stage, his voice booming. We've gotten soft. The swim test made us strong, connected us to our heritage. Starting this year, all seniors must complete it to graduate. Parents have been notified. It's non-negotiable. The auditorium erupted in confused murmurs. Next to me, my best friend Riley grabbed my arm. Is he serious? She whispered. My mom's going to freak. But the weird thing? Parents didn't freak. The school sent home permission slips, and every single one came back signed. My mom, who wouldn't let me get my driver's license without 3 months of practice, signed it without reading it. It's tradition, Jess, she said when I questioned her. Everyone does it. You'll be fine. Mom, a girl died. That was an accident, a tragic accident, but these things happen. Her voice was distant, distracted. You're a strong swimmer. It wasn't just her. Every parent in town seemed okay with it, enthusiastic even. The local paper ran a front-page story celebrating the test's return. Coach Martinez started holding mandatory practice sessions at the lake every morning before school. That's when I started noticing the others. There were always people at the lake during our practices, townspeople standing along the shore in silent clusters watching us swim. At 6 a.m. in the cold October darkness, they'd be there, dozens of them. They never cheered or spoke. They just watched. Does that creep anyone else out? Riley asked one morning as we dried off. She nodded toward the crowd. I recognized Mr. Hendricks from the hardware store, Mrs. Chen who ran the post office, even Pastor Mike from First Methodist. All standing perfectly still, staring at the water. They're probably just making sure we're safe, I said, but I didn't believe it. The test was scheduled for October 31st, Halloween. Weird choice, but Gaines insisted it was traditional. The original tests were always held on Samhain, he'd said at a school meeting. When the veil is thinnest. No one questioned it. That was the strangest part. No one questioned anything. As the date approached, I started researching Sarah Volk. The library had old newspaper archives, and I spent hours scrolling through microfiche, looking for details about her disappearance. The reports were weirdly sparse. Local girl missing after swim test. Search continues for Sarah Volk. Then nothing. The story just stopped. No follow-ups. No memorial service announcements. It was like the town collectively forgot she existed. I found one article that made me stop breathing. It was from 1983, dated November 2nd, 2 days after Sarah disappeared. The headline read, Town Council votes to continue lake traditions. The article was brief, but one paragraph stood out. Despite the recent tragedy, council members unanimously agreed that the swim test and associated ceremonies remain vital to Coldwell's identity. The lake provides, as it always has, said Mayor Richard Gaines, we honor our covenant. Mayor Richard Gaines, Principal Gaines's father. And that word, covenant. I showed Riley the article after practice. We sat in her car, heater running, staring at the printout. This is insane, she said. What ceremony? What covenant? I don't know, but I think we need to... Her mom knocked on the window, making us both jump. Mrs. Palmer smiled, gesturing for Riley to roll it down. You girls should get home. Big day coming up. Her voice was cheerful, but her eyes were blank, distant. Mom, we were just talking about... The test is an honor, Riley. Your grandmother did it. I did it. Now it's your turn. She leaned in closer. The lake provides. Riley's face went pale. What? See you at home, sweetie. Mrs. Palmer walked away, humming something tuneless. We looked at each other. My mom never did the test, Riley whispered. She graduated in 1995. They stopped doing it in '83. That night, I tried talking to my parents. My dad was in the garage, organizing tools he'd organized 100 times before. Dad, I don't want to do the swim test. You'll do fine, he said without looking up. No, I don't want to do it. Something's wrong with it. Can't you feel it? He finally looked at me. His expression was blank, empty. The lake provides, Jessica. Don't disrespect tradition. I backed out of the garage, heart pounding. The next day I skipped school and drove to the county records office 2 towns over. I told them I was doing a school project and needed historical information about Coldwell. The clerk, an older woman named Doris, helped me search. We found records going back to the town's founding in 1923. Here's something odd, Doris said, frowning at a document. Coldwell was originally called Mercy Falls. They changed the name in 1930 after... She trailed off, reading. after an incident at the lake. Multiple drownings during something called the offering. What kind of incident? Doesn't say. But look, here's a census record from 1929 listing 387 residents. The next census in 1931 only lists 312. That's a huge population drop for a small town. 75 people, gone in 2 years. I photocopied everything I could find and drove back to Coldwell. It was October 30th, the day before the test. The town felt different. Wrong. Everyone I passed smiled too wide, moved too slowly. The air smelled like algae and rot. I found Riley at the diner. She looked exhausted. "I tried to leave," she said before I could speak. "Packed a bag, got in my car. I was going to drive to my cousin's in Billings." She laughed bitterly. "I couldn't do it. Every road out of town. I'd get a mile away and just turn around. Like I forgot how to leave." "Riley, we have to—" "There's no stopping it, Jess. I can feel it. The whole town. We're all connected to something. The lake. It's been waiting." "No, we'll refuse. We'll tell them. Everyone's already gathering." She pointed out the diner window. The entire town was walking toward the lake. Hundreds of people moving in silence, eyes fixed forward. "We have to go," Riley whispered. "Don't you feel it?" I did, a pull deep in my chest, like a fishhook dragging me forward. We joined the procession. By the time we reached the lake, it was midnight. The water was perfectly still, reflecting the full moon. The entire senior class, 32 of us, stood on the dock in our swimsuits, shivering. The town surrounded us, watching. Principal Gaines stood at the dock's edge, holding an old leather book. "Tonight, we honor the covenant," he said, "as our ancestors did, as we've always done. The lake provides, and we provide in return." "What the hell is he talking about?" someone whispered. "Swim," Gaines commanded. "Swim to Mercy Point, complete the test." One by one, we entered the water. It was ice cold, stealing my breath. I started swimming, Riley beside me, both of us moving toward the distant point. Halfway across, I felt it, something massive moving beneath us, a current that shouldn't exist in a still lake. Riley grabbed my hand, her eyes wide with terror. The water around us began to churn. "Swim!" I screamed. We kicked harder, but the current was pulling us down. I looked back at the shore. The townspeople stood motionless, watching, waiting. Riley went under first. I grabbed for her, caught her hand, but something yanked her down with incredible force. Her fingers slipped from mine. "Riley!" I dove, eyes open in the murky water. Below me, impossibly far below, I saw lights. Not reflections, lights in the water itself, like a city submerged, and shapes moving between them, massive shapes with too many limbs. Riley was sinking toward them, eyes closed, not struggling. I swam down, lungs burning, grabbed her, kicked toward the surface. We broke through, gasping. "Go!" I screamed. We swam faster than I knew possible, propelled by pure terror. Behind us, the water erupted. I didn't look back. I couldn't. We reached Mercy Point and dragged ourselves onto the rocks, coughing, shaking. Around the lake, the townspeople began to disperse, silent and satisfied. The next morning, they announced that 3 students hadn't completed the test. Riley and I were among them, along with Tyler Simmons. We would not be graduating, but we were alive. Tyler wasn't. They found his body on November 2nd, washed up on the far shore. The official cause of death was drowning. At his funeral, his mother said, "The lake provides." Riley and I left Coldwell the day we turned 18. We drove until we hit the state line and we didn't look back. But I still dream about it. That underwater city, those shapes in the deep. And I wonder about the others. The 29 who made it to Mercy Point that night. Because when I see their pictures on social media, they all look the same, smiling, happy. But their eyes are empty. And they all live in Coldwell still, working the same jobs, raising kids who will one day take the swim test. The lake provides. My name is Daniel Park, and I worked for a telecom company doing courtesy calls in rural Nevada. You know the kind. "Hello, this is a courtesy call from your service provider. We're checking to ensure your satisfaction with our service." Mind-numbing work, but it paid okay, and I could do it from home. The company assigned me a list of small towns along Highway 95, tiny desert communities most people have never heard of. Hawthorne, Coaldale, Tonopah, populations under 500, places where everyone still has landlines. Beatty was my Thursday route, population 1,010, smack in the middle of nowhere between Vegas and Reno. I'd called every customer in Beatty at least a dozen times over the past 6 months. Nice folks mostly. Older. They'd chat about the weather, the heat, their grandkids in California. It was August when the script changed. I came into work, my converted spare bedroom, coffee in hand, and opened the call management software. There was a new protocol message. Effective immediately. All Beatty, Nevada calls must include the following verification question. Can you confirm the current date and time? Log all responses. Report anomalies to Supervisor Martin immediately. Weird, but corporate did weird things. I figured it was some time zone billing issue. My first call was to Agnes Murrow, a sweet 70-something who always asked about my wife. The line rang 4 times before she picked up. Hello? Hi, Mrs. Murrow. This is Daniel from... Daniel, how's that lovely wife of yours? We chatted briefly, then I asked the new question. Mrs. Murrow, can you confirm the current date and time for me? Silence. Then, well, it's Thursday, August 10th, about 9:30 in the morning. I glanced at my screen. Thursday, August 10th, 9:32 a.m. Perfect. That's correct, thank you. Is there anything else? Actually, Daniel, can I ask you something? Her voice changed, quieter. What date do you have? August 10th, ma'am, same as you. Right, of course. She sounded relieved. I'm sorry, I've been having the strangest feeling lately, like I'm forgetting something important. That's okay, Mrs. Murrow. You have a great day. You too, dear. I logged the call. No anomaly. The next 7 calls went similarly. Everyone confirmed the correct date, but something felt off. They all hesitated. They all sounded uncertain at first, then relieved when I confirmed their answer. Call 9 was to Robert Chen, owner of Beatty's only gas station. I'd spoken with him a few times. Gruff guy. No nonsense. Yeah, what? He answered. Mr. Chen, this is Daniel from... I know who you are. Make it quick. Can you confirm the current date and time? Long pause. It's Thursday, August. Another pause. August 10th. And the time. Why the hell are you asking me this? It's a new protocol, sir. Just need to verify for our records. It's about 9:45. 9:47 on my screen. Close enough. Thank you, Mr. Chen. Anything else? What's the last thing you remember? He asked suddenly. Excuse me. Before today. What's the last thing you remember happening? I don't understand the question, sir. Never mind. Forget it. He hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone. What a strange question. What was the last thing I remembered? I'd woken up, made coffee, kissed my wife Sarah goodbye before she left for work. Normal Thursday morning. But what about yesterday? Wednesday, August 9th. I frowned, trying to remember. I'd worked, obviously. Called customers. Had dinner with Sarah. Watched TV. Normal stuff. But I couldn't remember specifics. What did we have for dinner? What show did we watch? I shook my head. I was overthinking it. Boring days blur together. Call 15 was to Margaret Hofstede, the town librarian. She picked up on the first ring, like she'd been waiting. It's Thursday, August 10th, she said before I could ask anything. 9:58 a.m., but it was Thursday, August 10th yesterday too, and the day before, and the day before that. My stomach dropped. Mrs. Hofstede, I think there's been some confusion. No confusion, Daniel. Listen to me carefully. Check your phone. Check your computer. Look at the calendar. Really look. I pulled up my phone. Thursday, August 10th. Of course it was. Now check your email, she said. Check the dates. I opened my email. The most recent message was from my supervisor, sent at 8:15 a.m. today, August 10th. The next message was from IT, sent at 3:42 p.m., August 10th. Below that, a message from Sarah at 6:23 p.m., August 10th. Then another from my supervisor at 8:15 a.m., August 10th. I scrolled down. Every single email was dated August 10th. Different times, but all the same date. What the fuck? I whispered. You're starting to understand, Margaret said. I've been keeping a handwritten journal. Today is the 41st time I've lived Thursday, August 10th. We're trapped. The whole town. Maybe the whole world, I don't know, but definitely Beatty. This isn't possible. This is a glitch. A software error. Then explain why we all have the same memory gaps, why we can't remember anything before today, before this day, why you've called me 15 times today and every time I tell you the same thing and you forget. No, I've only called you once. Check your call log, Daniel. I switched to the call management screen. Beatty, Nevada. I scrolled through my logged calls. Agnes Murrow, August 10th, 9:30 a.m. Anomaly, none. Robert Chen, August 10th, 9:45 a.m. Anomaly, none. Margaret Hofstede, August 10th, 10 a.m. Anomaly, none. The list repeated. Same names, same times. Over and over. I counted 41 cycles. What's happening to us? I asked. I don't know, but it's getting worse. People are starting to notice. Some of them, she paused. Some of them aren't handling it well. The Carvers set their house on fire this morning, 3rd time this week, this day. The fire department puts it out. Then the next loop, they do it again. There has to be a way out. If there is, I haven't found it. But Daniel, you need to document this. You're outside Beatty. You might be our only connection to whenever's out there. Tell someone. Tell everyone. I will, I promise. You said that yesterday too. You'll forget. We all forget when it resets. The line went dead. I sat there, shaking. I looked at my calendar. August 10th, Thursday. What was yesterday? I tried to remember. Really tried. Nothing, just fog. I called my wife. Sarah Park, she answered. She was at work, professional voice. Sarah, what did we do yesterday? Danny, I'm in a meeting. Can this wait? What did we do yesterday? Please, I need you to remember. Silence. Then, we had dinner and watched something on Netflix. What did we watch? Why are you asking me this? Because I can't remember. I can't remember anything before this morning. Daniel, you're scaring me. Check your phone. Look at the dates on your texts, your emails. Tell me what you see. I heard typing, then silence. Long silence. Sarah, they're all from today. Her voice was small. Everything, every message, every call, it's all today. Do you remember yesterday, specifically? I remember waking up, getting ready. But before that, it's just fog, I finished. What's happening to us? I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. I love you. I love you too. I hung up and stared at my screen. The call list stared back, mocking me with its repetition. Then I noticed something, the timestamp. Margaret's call ended at 10:07 a.m., but my clock now showed 9:25 a.m. Time had gone backward. I checked my call log. The recent calls were gone, reset. I was back at the beginning. My phone rang. Caller ID, Supervisor Martin. Daniel, just checking in on the Beatty calls. Any anomalies to report? Sir, I think something's wrong with the system. The dates are fine. Just follow the script, make the calls, report anything unusual. But everyone's stuck. They're reliving the same day. Daniel, his voice was sharp. Make the calls. This is important work, essential work. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Good. Continue. He hung up. I looked at my call queue. Agnes Murrow was first. The line rang. Hello? Hi, Mrs. Murrow. This is Daniel from... Daniel, how's that lovely wife of yours? I closed my eyes. She's fine, Mrs. Murrow, just fine. Can you confirm the current date and time? Well, it's Thursday, August 10th, about 9:30 in the morning. Thank you, that's correct. We're still here, still trapped. I'm writing this during my lunch break, the lunch break that happens every loop, same time, same sandwich. I've tried everything. I've called the police, but they forget. I've emailed people, but the emails reset. I wrote this account in a physical notebook, and I'm reading from it now, but I don't know how many times I've written it before. Sarah called me crying 3 loops ago. She'd figured it out. She was terrified. Next loop, she didn't remember. The people in Beatty are losing their minds. Margaret stopped answering. Mr. Chen told me he was going to end it rather than live through another cycle, and my supervisor keeps calling, asking if I've found any anomalies. I think he knows. I think they all know, outside the loop. I think we're being observed. Studied. I'm running out of hope. The worst part isn't the repetition, it's the forgetting. Each time I have to rediscover the horror. Each time it's fresh terror. If you're reading this, if somehow this gets out, know that we're still here, still trapped, still living, Thursday, August 10th, and we're begging you to help us, but you won't remember. None of us remember. It's 9:25 a.m. My phone's ringing. Agnes Murrow. Here we go again. My name is Isaac Rourke, and I'm a commercial fisherman working out of Widow's Bay, a coastal town in northern Maine with a population of around 2,400. It's the kind of place that smells like salt and diesel, where the fog rolls in thick enough to cut with a knife, and everyone's livelihood depends on the Atlantic's mood. I grew up here, left for a decade trying city life, and came crawling back when my father died and left me his boat, a 38-foot trawler called the Mariah's Grace. Fishing is hard, lonely work, but it's honest. You go out before dawn, pull your traps or nets, come back with the catch, sell to the processing plant, and repeat. The ocean provides, or it doesn't. Simple. Until I started seeing the night fishermen. The first time was in late September, around 3 a.m. I was heading out early to check my lobster traps before the storm system rolled in. The harbor was dead quiet, just the sound of water lapping against hulls and the distant groan of the lighthouse foghorn. That's when I saw the boat. It was anchored about 200 yards offshore, just visible through the fog. An old wooden fishing boat, maybe 30 feet, the kind nobody uses anymore. Single mast, peeling paint, no lights, and standing at the stern was a figure holding a fishing rod. I watched for a minute, puzzled. The boat looked derelict, but someone was definitely there, moving slowly, casting a line into the black water. I muttered and went about my business. Probably some eccentric local I didn't know. Widow's Bay had its share of oddballs. But 3 nights later, I saw him again. Same spot, same boat, same motionless figure. This time I was with Denny Carver, my occasional deckhand. I pointed it out. You see that boat, out past the breakwater? Denny squinted into the darkness. What boat? Right there, the old wooden one with the guy fishing. Isaac, there's nothing there. I looked again. The boat was clear as day, gray wood visible even in the fog. The figure had turned to face us. At least I thought so. It was too dark to see details. Denny, you're telling me you don't see a boat right there? Brother, I see fog and water. That's it. Maybe lay off the coffee. I didn't push it, but I knew what I'd seen. Over the next 2 weeks, I saw the night fisherman every time I went out, always in the same spot, always at night, always perfectly still except for the rhythmic casting of his line. I asked around at Hanley's pub where the fishermen gathered. Any of you guys know about a wooden boat that fishes at night? Old-timer maybe? Anchors just outside the harbor? The table went quiet. Old Roger Gillis, who'd been fishing these waters for 50 years, looked at me hard. Where exactly? Just past the breakwater, due east of the lighthouse. Roger's face went pale. You been seeing it regular? Yeah, past couple weeks, every night I'm out. Who is it? Isaac, that's not a question you want answered. What's that supposed to mean? Roger stood up, dropped cash on the table, and left without another word. The other men wouldn't meet my eyes. I got the message. Nobody wanted to talk about it. But I needed to know. The next night, instead of checking my traps, I motored the Mariah's Grace straight toward the old boat. I needed to see it up close, confirm I wasn't losing my mind. As I approached, the fog thickened unnaturally. The temperature dropped. I could see my breath, which was wrong for September. The boat materialized through the mist. Up close, it looked ancient, wood weathered to almost gray-black, barnacles encrusting the waterline, rigging frayed and hanging loose. The name on the stern was barely legible. CatherinE. And the fisherman stood at the rail, facing away from me, rod in hand. Hey, I called out. You okay over there? He didn't turn. Didn't acknowledge me at all, just kept casting. I brought my boat alongside, close enough to see him clearly in my spotlight. I wish I hadn't. He was wearing oilskins and a heavy coat, but they hung wrong on his frame, too loose, like there wasn't much underneath. His hands on the fishing rod were skeletal, skin tight over bone, and his face when I finally saw it as he turned. There was no face, just shadow inside the hood. Empty shadow. Jesus Christ, I whispered. The figure pointed at the water beside my boat. I looked down. There were dozens of them beneath the surface, pale bodies, bloated and drifting, suspended vertically in the water like grotesque fishing lures. Their eyes were open, their mouths were open, and they were moving, not swimming but swaying gently with the current, arms outstretched. One of them was looking at me. I recognized him. Jimmy Pasternak. He'd disappeared last spring during a storm. They'd never found his body. I gunned the engine, swung the Mariah's Grace around, and didn't stop until I was tied up at my dock, shaking so hard I could barely stand. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I kept seeing those faces in the water, those reaching hands. Finally, I went back to Hanley's and found Roger Gillis at his usual spot. "I saw it," I said without preamble. "The Catherine, the fisherman, and what's in the water." Roger sighed deeply, aging 10 years in an instant. "Sit down, Isaac." He told me the story. The Catherine was a fishing boat that went down in 1947 during a nor'easter. Captain named Elias Drummond and a crew of 4. They were pulling an illegal night haul when the storm hit. The boat capsized and sank just outside the harbor, all hands lost. But Elias, he was obsessed, Roger continued. Obsessed with fishing, with the catch, with providing for his family. Story goes that his wife drowned herself a year after he died, jumped off the breakwater. Since then, people have seen him out there, the night fisherman, still working his lines. But the people in the water, those are his catch. Roger's voice was grim. Every few years, someone who sees him too many times gets too close. They disappear. Go out fishing one night and never come back. Coast Guard finds the boat, but never the body. And if you see the Catherine again, you'll see them there, hanging in the water like fish on a line. That's insane. You're telling me a ghost is drowning people? I'm telling you Widow's Bay has a price. The ocean takes what it wants. Elias is just part of the collection process. Roger leaned in. My advice? Stop going out at night. Stay away from that part of the harbor. Don't look for the Catherine. Don't acknowledge it. Most folks, if they see it once or twice and ignore it, it leaves them alone. And if you don't ignore it, then you become part of the catch. I thanked him and left, head spinning. For 3 weeks, I only fished during the day. I avoided the eastern harbor. I kept my head down. But the fishing was bad, really bad. I was barely breaking even and winter was coming. I needed better hauls, which meant going out at night when the lobsters were more active. I convinced myself Roger was just superstitious, telling ghost stories to spook the newcomer. The night fisherman was probably some eccentric who fished illegally, and the bodies I'd seen were tricks of light and imagination. So I went out. It was October 15th, a cold, clear night with a full moon. Perfect conditions. I motored out to my best trap line, the one that ran close to the breakwater. I saw the Catherine immediately. It was closer this time, maybe 50 yards away. The night fisherman stood at the rail, but he wasn't fishing. He was watching me. I ignored him, kept my eyes on my work, pulled my traps, took the catch, reset them. Professional, focused, but I could feel him watching, feel the weight of that empty shadow face. When I finished, I turned to head back. The Catherine was directly between me and the harbor, blocking my path. "Move," I said aloud. "Get out of my way." The night fisherman raised one skeletal arm and pointed down at the water. Against every instinct, I looked. There were more now, dozens more. They'd surrounded my boat, all hanging vertically in the water, all looking up at me. I saw faces I recognized. Jimmy Pasternak, Sarah Colton, who'd vanished 2 years ago. Others I didn't know, wearing clothes from different decades. And there, at the edge, was my father. He'd died of a heart attack on his boat. They'd found him slumped over the wheel. Natural causes, the coroner said. But here he was, suspended in the dark water, eyes open, mouth open, arms reaching up toward me. "Dad?" My voice cracked. He didn't respond. None of them did. They just swayed in the current, patient and eternal. The night fisherman cast his line. The hook sailed through the air, impossibly far, impossibly accurate. It caught in my jacket, punched through the fabric, and then I was being pulled. I grabbed the rail of my boat, held on with everything I had, but the line was strong, stronger than any fishing line should be. My hands were slipping. "No!" I screamed. I pulled out my gutting knife and sawed at the line. It resisted, tough as steel cable, but finally parted. The tension released. I fell backward onto the deck, gasping. When I looked up, the Catherine was gone. The bodies were gone. I was alone in the harbor. I brought the Mariah's Grace back to dock and tied her up. My hands were bleeding from gripping the rail so hard. That was 3 days ago. I haven't been back out since. I put the boat up for sale yesterday. I'm leaving Widow's Bay, going somewhere inland, somewhere far from the ocean. But I keep having dreams. In the dreams, I'm underwater, hanging vertically in the cold darkness, arms outstretched. I can see the surface far above, dappled with moonlight, and I can see the shadow of a boat and a figure casting a line. I try to swim, but I can't move. I try to scream, but water fills my lungs, and I realize I'm not dreaming. I'm remembering. This morning I woke up with salt water on my pillow and seaweed tangled in my hair. I think I'm already caught. I think I've always been caught. The night fisherman is patient. He can wait. And eventually, everyone in Widow's Bay goes back to the water. My name is Carmen Vega, and I worked as a home health aide in Ashford, Pennsylvania, a Rust Belt town of about 5,000 souls that's been dying slowly since the steel mill closed in 1987. Most of my clients are elderly, people who've lived here their whole lives and have nowhere else to go. It's depressing work sometimes, but it's necessary. These people need help, and I'm good at what I do. Mrs. Kowalski was my Tuesday and Thursday afternoon client. 83 years old, sharp as a tack mentally but frail physically. She lived alone in a narrow row house on Birch Street, one of those streets where every house is identical. Red brick, white trim, concrete stoops. I'd been seeing her for about 4 months when she started talking about the lot. "They're building something," she said one Thursday in November. I was helping her with her medication, counting out pills into her weekly organizer. "Who's building something, Mrs. K?" "On the empty lot, at the end of the street." She pointed out her front window. "They're out there every night, digging." I looked. The empty lot was visible from her window, a weedy patch of ground between the last row house and the old chain-link fence that marked the end of the neighborhood. It had been vacant for as long as anyone could remember. The foundation of an old building, never completed. "I don't see anyone," I said gently. Mrs. K sometimes got confused, mixed up past and present. "Not during the day, at night, you'll see." I humored her, made a note to mention it to her daughter. But the next week Mrs. K brought it up again. They finished the foundation. Now they're putting up walls. "Mrs. K, there's nothing being built there. Look for yourself. Tonight. Come back after dark and look." The concern in her voice made me uneasy. "Okay. I'll come back and check on you tonight. How's that?" Her relief was palpable. "Thank you, Carmen. Thank you. I thought I was going crazy." I returned at 8 p.m. after finishing my other clients. Birch Street was quiet and dark. Most of the streetlights were broken and hadn't been replaced. Budget cuts. I parked in front of Mrs. K's house and looked toward the lot. I saw them immediately. There were lights, work lights, bright and harsh, illuminating the lot, and people, at least a dozen, moving around, carrying materials, working on something. They were building. I got out of my car slowly, trying to process what I was seeing. A construction crew working at 8 p.m. in November, in the dark, on an empty lot in a dying neighborhood. I walked closer. The structure was already substantial. A foundation and partial walls, maybe 20 feet on each side. The workers moved with efficient purpose, but something about them was wrong. They were too quiet. No talking, no radio, no sound, except for hammering and the scrape of tools. And their clothes. They weren't wearing modern construction gear. They had on old-fashioned work clothes, heavy canvas pants, suspenders, cloth caps, like something from the 1940s. "Hey," I called out, "what are you building?" None of them responded, didn't even look up. I walked right up to the chain-link fence separating the sidewalk from the lot. "Excuse me?" One of the workers passed within 5 feet of me, carrying a load of bricks. I could see him clearly in the work lights. His eyes were empty, not vacant, empty. Like someone had scooped them out and left dark hollows. I stumbled backward, my heart hammering. All of the workers had the same empty eye sockets. All of them moved with the same mechanical precision. And now that I was close, I could see that they weren't solid. They were translucent at the edges, like images projected onto the air. I ran back to my car and locked the doors, breathing hard. Mrs. Kowalski was watching from her window. She waved at me. I drove home and couldn't sleep. I kept seeing those hollow-eyed workers building something impossible in the dark. The next morning, I drove past the lot in daylight. Empty, overgrown with weeds, no foundation, no walls, no evidence anyone had been there. I asked around at the nursing agency. "Anyone know about the empty lot on Birch Street? Any history?" My supervisor, Linda, frowned. Birch Street? That's the Kowalski route, right? Yeah. Mrs. K says something's being built there. Carmen, Mrs. K is 83. She probably... I saw it too. Linda's expression changed. You saw what? Construction. At night. But during the day, there's nothing there. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, my grandmother lived on Birch Street. She used to tell a story about that lot. Back in the 40s, they tried to build something there, a community center, I think. But there was an accident. Part of the structure collapsed, killed a bunch of workers. The project was abandoned, and nobody ever built there again. How many workers died? I don't know. A dozen? More? It was during the war. Records weren't great. I thanked her and left, my skin crawling. That night, I went back to Birch Street with my phone, ready to record evidence. The construction was happening again. Lights, workers, the building taking shape. It was larger now, walls going up, a roof being framed. I filmed everything. The workers, the building, the impossible architecture rising from empty ground. When I got home and checked the footage, it showed only an empty lot with streetlight reflecting off chain-link fence. I went back every night for a week. Each night the building grew. First floor, second floor, roof completed, windows installed, dark reflective glass that seemed to absorb light, a door heavy and metal. And every morning the lot was empty. Mrs. K was terrified. "They're almost done," she whispered when I visited. "When they finish, something bad is going to happen. I can feel it." "Mrs. K, what do you think they're building?" "A door," she said simply. "They're building a door. And when it opens..." She didn't finish. On the 8th night, the building was complete. It stood 3 stories tall, dark brick, no markings. The workers had vanished. The lot was silent. I stood on the sidewalk, staring at it. In the daylight, this space was empty. But here, at night, a building existed. An impossible building. As I watched, the metal door opened. Darkness spilled out. Not shadow, darkness, thick and viscous, like liquid night. It flowed across the lot, over the fence, onto the street. I backed away, but it was spreading fast. It touched a parked car and the car's headlights went out, touched a streetlight and the light died. The darkness was consuming light itself. I ran to my car, fumbling with my keys. The darkness was advancing, swallowing everything. I could hear something in it, whispers, hundreds of whispers, overlapping and desperate. I got the car started and floored it, speeding away from Birch Street. In my rearview mirror, I watched the darkness expand, block by block, consuming the neighborhood. I called 911, told them there was an emergency on Birch Street, some kind of chemical leak, darkness spreading. They said they'd send someone. Nobody came. The next morning, Birch Street was empty. Not just the lot, the entire street, every house, including Mrs. K's, was gone. Just vacant foundations and overgrown lots. The street sign was rusted, the pavement cracked and ancient. I checked the records. According to the city, Birch Street had been condemned and demolished in 1987. No residents listed, no active addresses. But I'd been visiting Mrs. Kowalski for 4 months. I had records, time cards, medication logs. When I checked my files, they were blank. Every entry for Mrs. K gone. Her address listed as location not found. I called her daughter. The number was disconnected. I drove to the administrative office that handled her Medicare. They had no record of a Helen Kowalski. No patient by that name had ever been in their system. I asked the nursing agency. Linda looked at me with concern. "Carmen, we've never had a client on Birch Street. Are you feeling okay?" I went to the library and searched newspaper archives, found an article from 1947, Tragedy Strikes Construction Project, 12 Dead in Collapse. The article described how a community center being built on Birch Street had partially collapsed, killing 12 workers. The project was abandoned. No charges were filed. The article included a photo of the construction site. The building in the photo was identical to what I'd seen being built at night. I found another article from 1987, Birch Street residents vanish, police baffled. Every resident of Birch Street, 43 people, had disappeared overnight. Houses found empty, no signs of struggle, no explanations. The street was eventually condemned. Among the missing was Helen Kowalski, age 47. "I don't work in Ashford anymore. I moved 2 towns over, found a new job. But sometimes I drive past where Birch Street used to be. The lot is still there, empty and overgrown. But at night, if I look carefully, I can see lights and figures working. And I know they're building something new, another door, because whatever came through the first one, it's still hungry, and it needs more. My name is Trevor Marsh, and I host a late-night radio show in Millbrook, South Dakota, population 4,100, mostly farmers and families that have been here for generations. It's flat country, wheat fields stretching to the horizon, towns scattered every 20 miles or so along Highway 212. I've been doing night drive radio for 3 years now, playing requests, taking calls, keeping truckers and insomniacs company from midnight to 5 a.m. It's not glamorous, but I love it. There's something intimate about radio at night when it's just you and the listeners and the darkness outside. The call came in at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in October. Night drive radio, you're on the air. Trevor, a man's voice, rough and urgent. Trevor, you need to listen to me very carefully. Sure, caller. What's your name? That doesn't matter. What matters is that you stop the broadcast, right now. Cut transmission. I laughed. Can't do that, friend. We're live until 5 a.m. You got a request? You don't understand. The signal is spreading. Every minute you broadcast, it reaches farther. More people are tuning in. That's kind of the point of radio, yeah. Not people, Trevor, not anymore. Just stop, please. Before it's too late. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, unnerved. Crank call, obviously. We got them occasionally, but something about his voice, the genuine fear, stuck with me. Well, folks, I said into the mic, forcing casualness. That was weird. Let's get back to the music. Here's some Johnny Cash for you night drivers. I queued up Ghost Riders in the Sky and sat back, trying to shake the unease. The request line lit up immediately. 4 lines, all at once. I picked up line 1, night drive radio. Heavy breathing. Line 2, night drive radio. The same breathing, identical. Line 3, same. Line 4, same. All 4 lines, the same sound, wet, labored breathing, perfectly synchronized. I hung up on all of them, my hands shaking. The song ended. I went to the mic. Okay, folks, seems like we're having some technical difficulties. If you're trying to call in, hang tight, we'll get it sorted. But the lines kept lighting up, all 4, constantly, like someone was calling over and over. I stopped answering. At 3:15 a.m., I got an email. The subject line was, "Turn it off." The body of the email was a single line. "They're listening through you." No sender name. The email address was just random characters. I checked the station's streaming stats on my computer. Normally, we had about 200 listeners at this hour. Locals, truckers passing through, some insomniacs as far as Sioux Falls. The current listener count was 47,293, and climbing. What the fuck? I whispered. I watched the number increase in real time. 47,500, 48,000, 48,500. Where were all these people coming from? I pulled up the listener location map. It showed dots representing IP addresses of streaming listeners. The dots covered South Dakota, then they spread, Nebraska, Wyoming, Montana, then farther, the entire Midwest, then the whole country. Within 5 minutes, the map was solid with dots. Hundreds of thousands of listeners, all tuned in simultaneously. The request lines were all lit up. Against my better judgment, I answered one. Trevor. A woman's voice, monotone. Play it again. Play what? The song. Play the song again. Which song? Ghost Riders in the Sky. Sure. Okay. I hung up and answered another line. Trevor, a different voice, same monotone. Play it again. The song? Play it again. Every line I got the same request. Different voices, same words. Play it again. I queued up Johnny Cash for a second time, my skin crawling. As the song played, I Googled Millbrook Radio Strange Broadcast. Nothing relevant came up. Then I tried Radio Signal Mind Control South Dakota. The search returned one result, a blog post from 2003, archived and barely functional. The post described an incident in 1978 when a radio station in western South Dakota, KRMB, broadcasting out of a town called Belford, had experienced signal anomalies. Listeners reported hearing voices under the music, feeling compelled to listen for hours, experiencing shared dreams. The station had abruptly shut down on October 15, 1978. The 3 staff members working that night were found dead in the broadcast booth. Cause of death: acute psychotic break. They'd killed each other. Belford, according to the blog, was abandoned shortly after. The town no longer appeared on maps. I checked the date. October 15th. Today was October 15th. The song ended. I went back on air, trying to keep my voice steady. Folks, I think we're going to end the broadcast a little early tonight. Technical issues. You all have a safe. Every phone line rang at once. I picked up line 1. Don't stop broadcasting, Trevor. The voice was layered, dozens of voices speaking in perfect unison. We need the signal. We need to listen. We need to come through. Come through? Come through what? The signal is the door. You are the key. Keep broadcasting. I slammed the phone down and reached for the master power switch that would kill the transmitter. My hand wouldn't move. I tried again. My arm was frozen, locked in place. I couldn't reach the switch. What the fuck is happening? The computer screen flickered. The listener count was now over 2 million, and they were no longer scattered across the map. The dots were converging, moving, concentrating. All of them were showing locations in Millbrook. 2 million listeners, all apparently in a town of 4,100. I heard something outside the station. The building was on the edge of town, surrounded by empty fields. I went to the window. The wheat fields were full of people. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, standing perfectly still, facing the radio station. Their eyes reflected the building's lights, flat and silver, like animal eyes. More were arriving, walking out of the darkness, emerging from the fields, shambling up the gravel road. Silent, expressionless. I grabbed my phone to call 911. No signal. Not even an emergency dial option. Just a blank screen. The computer showed a new email. Thank you for opening the door. The people outside pressed against the building. I heard the exterior door handle rattle. I ran to the broadcast booth door and locked it. The booth was soundproof, reinforced, a leftover from the 60s when they'd built the station to double as a fallout shelter. If I stayed inside, maybe... The exterior door crashed open. Footsteps in the hallway, dozens of footsteps. They reached the booth door. Hands pressed against the reinforced glass window, faces peering in. They all looked wrong, human-shaped but empty, hollow, like the people inside had been scooped out and something else had climbed in. The one in front, a woman in pajamas, smiled at me. Keep broadcasting, Trevor. We're almost all here. What are you? We're what's been listening, for decades, through every radio signal, every broadcast, waiting for someone to open the door wide enough. You did that. Thank you. The glass was cracking. They were pushing against it. A wall of bodies, relentless. I looked at the equipment. The transmitter was still running, my microphone still live. 2 million listeners, waiting. I thought about the Belford station, the dead broadcasters. I had one option. I grabbed the fire extinguisher from the wall mount and smashed the transmitter. Sparks flew, the equipment died, lights going dark. The on-air sign went black. The people outside stopped moving, stopped pushing. Then they started screaming. All of them at once, a chorus of rage and agony. They clawed at the door, the walls, each other. The glass shattered. I dove under the console as they poured in, but they weren't trying to get me. They were trying to get to the equipment, desperately pawing at the broken transmitter, shrieking. Then, one by one, they collapsed, just fell down. Empty. Within minutes, the screaming stopped. I crawled out from under the console. The booth was full of bodies. People from town, people I recognized. Mr. Henderson from the gas station. Sarah Kim, who worked at the grocery store. Coach Peters from the high school. All of them unconscious but breathing. I stumbled outside. The fields were full of collapsed figures. Sirens in the distance. The sheriff. Ambulances. Sheriff Pritchard found me sitting on the station steps, shaking. "Trevor, what the hell happened? We got reports of half the town walking out of their houses like zombies, all heading here." "The broadcast," I said. Something in the broadcast. They took me to the hospital, gave me sedatives, asked a lot of questions I couldn't answer. The people who'd collapsed all woke up within 24 hours. None of them remembered anything after going to bed that night. They'd all been listening to my show as they fell asleep. The FCC investigated, found nothing wrong with the equipment after I'd destroyed it anyway. The streaming numbers were dismissed as a server glitch. The station never reopened. I never broadcasted again. But sometimes late at night I'll be driving through the empty South Dakota darkness and I'll scan the radio dial. And I'll hear it, static mostly, but underneath very faint, a voice. My voice. Still broadcasting, still live, somewhere in the static. And I know that every time someone tunes in, even for a second, the door opens a little wider. They're still listening, still waiting. And one day, someone will broadcast long enough. One day, the door will open all the way. I hope to God I'm not around to see it. If you want more slow burn horror, unsettling stories, and nights where silence isn't safe, subscribe to the channel now. New stories drop regularly. Turn on notifications so you don't miss them. Just remember, some signals are better heard before they find you.